Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present the news tonight. Our top stories in the news: the Anti-Corruption Commission urged to stop negotiating with public funds looters. Some LUSAKA traders claim the marketeer booster loans are targeted at UPND cadres. SOLWEZI residents ask government to enhance access to health services. In international news, Nigeria electing governors after disputed presidential vote. And in sports news, Liverpool forward pulls out of Uruguay squad with injury.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Hello again, the news in detail. Community Action Against Corruption Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo has hailed the Anti-Corruption Commission SEC for its effort to recover financial resources stolen from 18 government officials from the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Tembo said the arrest of the officials in connection with corrupt activities is a clear indication that the Commission has risen to the challenge to fight corruption. He states that the tendency of using Section 80 of the Anti-Corruption Act No. 3 of 2012, which provides flexible measures for negotiating with looters and plunderers, weakens the fight against corruption.
The Anti-Corruption Commission on 17 March 2023 arrested 18 individuals involved in a financial scandal from the Ministry of Finance, in which investigations are currently underway. In reaction to the arrest by the ACC, some stakeholders have told Camnet TV News that corruption cannot end as long as government officials are involved in corruption. And Community Action Against Corruption CAC Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo commends the ACC for its efforts in helping recover financial resources allegedly stolen by the state officials. He says that government should consider removing the provisions in the Anti-Corruption Act No. 3 of 2012, which allows for flexibility in the handling of such offences.
Resources that were stolen from them by greedy government officials. The arrest of 18 Ministry of Finance officials involved in the systematic corruption at the ministry is a commendable job. And we know there is too much work before the Anti-Corruption Commission, looking at the number of corrupt transactions that went on in the previous regime. But we are worried because the statement from the Anti-Corruption Commission yesterday stated that there are some people who are willing to bring back whatever they had taken away from the Zambians. You know, bringing back, yes, that's a good way, because the Anti-Corruption Act No. 3 of 2012 provides for that. But using that provision in the fight against corruption, weaken the fight against corruption itself. Because what is the use of somebody bringing back 300,000, which he took away in 2018 or 2019 or 2020 today? This person has already enjoyed the benefits. Even when he brings back, he will remain enjoying the benefits. So we discourage the Anti-Corruption Commission from going the way of negotiated settlement with people who plundered the state, people who have already benefited from whatever they had looted from the state. So we only appeal to the Anti-Corruption Commission to make sure that they go the prosecuting way, where these people are prosecuted in the courts of law. They suffer, if it is jail terms, let them suffer that and get away. The state should get whatever they took away from the people of Zambia.
Meanwhile, Enoch Roosevelt of Third Liberation Movement says that there is need for the enactment of non-bailable law to ensure officials involved in such acts are dealt with.
If we were to stop the crime of corruption, stop the crime of stealing public resources, we need to have very strong, stringent measures or law in place to stop these crooks, these criminals, from dipping their long fingers into public coffers. And the only way out is to ensure that the non-bearable law on corruption is enacted. Because it is in the same law or same petition which was adopted where we have proposed that we must make sure that if Mr. Tonga is found wanting, Mr. Tonga has been picked up by the investigative, and by the way, these investigative wings must be independent, you know, not where you find that the Anti-Corruption Commission, the police are reporting to a sitting head of state, then we'll be going circles.
Sampa Mulenda, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Most households and commercial buildings in Lusaka have not been fitted with meters to ensure that consumers only pay for the water they use, as well as achieve efficiency. The National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, NWASCO, has since implored the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company to accelerate metering coverage. NWASCO Communications and Public Relations Manager Mpunga Semukwai notes with concern that there has been a drop in the metering ratio. She is, however, confident that the firm will meet the target of achieving 100% metering coverage in its jurisdiction. According to the National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, Urban and Peri-Urban Water Supply and Sanitation 2021 Sector Report, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company was 77.7% in terms of metering ratio, reflecting worse than the relevant average, and the benchmark had not been achieved. Here's a report.
Water metering is important. Not only does it ensure consumers pay only for the water they use, but it is a vital intervention towards controlling the problem of non-revenue water. Water metering is the practice of measuring water use. Water meters measure the volume of water used by residential and commercial building units. However, most households in some communities of Lusaka have remained unmetered for a long time, and over the years, some 40 meters have not been replaced by the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company in areas like Lusaka's Chawama and Kalingalinga compounds. People complaining about paying for the water they do not access is a common cry in Lusaka.
Utilipira manzi amene kulipi ngati simunalipire ijabiu simuiziva na kweya chokera ngati simunailipire babwera kuvala kwa amene kulibe manzi.
And those who have meters say they enjoy the value for money.
Being metered, it's fine because normally we regulate, we see how much we use the water. So for those who have fixed, it's not all that good, because when you don't have water, then you still pay the same amount the way you pay always. But being metered, it's okay because we've seen it. We are able to control how we use the water.
We spoke to Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company Marketing and Public Relations Manager Shamba Muzungu, who added that metering is an ongoing exercise.
As I speak, we are still installing meters in various areas. Lusaka, it's the policy direction to ensure that we deal with issues of non-revenue water, which has been a big problem for us. We ensure that people are billed accurately using the meters that we are installing.
National Water Supply and Sanitation Council Communications and Public Relations Manager, who observes with concern that the metering coverage ratio has been eroding over the years.
So the metering is important, it's an empowerment tool for the customer. The customer is able to assess and regulate the usage of the water, but then also the service provider on the other end is able to measure what is going out and then also what is being consumed. If it is less, then they know that there is a problem somewhere along the network. So indeed, metering does improve efficiency. It helps the customer to conserve the water. It also impacts on pricing. What price do we need to put on that particular utility or service provider, so that we ensure that the service provider runs efficiently and effectively, but more so for the customers who are to be able to regulate their consumption.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Some residents of LUSAKA's Kanyama compound have expressed concern over the poor service delivery and sanitation at Kanyama Level 1 Hospital. Speaking in an interview with Camnet TV News, the residents have accused the hospital staff of being incompetent in their line of work. They say most cleaners focus on selling foodstuffs to patients at the expense of doing their work.
Sanitation and good service delivery in hospitals are a very vital component in attaining Sustainable Development Goals 3 and 6. Despite the government's efforts to improve sanitation and health in the country through the construction of hospitals in areas like Chawama, Kanyama, and others, sanitation still remains a huge challenge. And some residents in Kanyama have expressed concern over not just poor sanitation, but also poor service delivery by hospital staff at Kanyama Level 1 Hospital.
Nchito chabeba nkala chabeba ngogulisa chabema yes drinki bapitisa mo madondo ma cream donuts mu toilets muli clean surrounding yonse ina doti kuno kwanetili na matenda tingankalemo vonse tista chabe kugula kuno.
They have lamented that there is poor sanitation at the hospital, adding that the staff too are incompetent in their line of work. They further state that the hospital staff operate indiscriminately, especially in labor wards.
Services mwanzi nyovuta vonse ukabwela nikugula ukafika chabi paja jiki nshwatenga kudala makoto nui nshwatenga kudala vakuza ulina vinango futi wakuza kagule vinango.
The residents have since urged the hospital staff to improve on their service delivery in order to ensure that operations at hospitals run smoothly.
Nakondena cheve mwanzi vani wachita manesezi tipemba kwa msitanzireko tufuna kota nzizo baikireko nzeru pano na mankwala niyo shotela tipesika tina ma patients but vili vonse tigula so tipemba kwa government atsanganireko.
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Residents of Kawama B in Solwezi district of Northwestern Province have called on the government to urgently provide them with basic social amenities to help improve their living conditions. One of the residents, Janet Kalangwa, says the community is facing serious issues with health care, especially with pregnant women who have to be carried on improvised structures and walk for many hours to receive medical treatment. She adds that facilities such as those for health and sanitation infrastructure are important to avoid disease outbreaks that may arise due to the population increase. Details in this report.
Residents of Kawama B in Solwezi district of Northwestern Province have called on the government to urgently provide them with basic social amenities to help improve their living conditions. The residents, who are mostly farmers, say lack of basic social infrastructures such as schools, hospitals and good road network is seriously making their lives unbearable in the community. One of the residents spoken to, Janet Kalingwa, says the community has been facing serious issues with regards to health care, especially with pregnant women who have to be carried on improvised structures and walk for many hours to receive medical treatment. She was speaking to Camnet TV in an interview.
Ageni kliniki tatukwete na tukwata maskulu ku pokati umuse wabantu bafike ku tufikera ku skulu ku imyotoka irafirwa ipirafi paka market pa down pa manapati so tulefa abantu afirishe ko pokati tungakwata ko musebo ingafika ku nchende tungakwata kona muka kliniki kuri nchende kuti lefture ya mukazomba tuleya mu college na kutulepera kwa icho twatifaturandeko afina ngaba maternity tuleshupikwa
ko jishinda betu wamishireko jishinda ne maraiti betu peko mwane ne kipatera betu raire kuitupa kipatera kafwako mema nao tunawakabakana tunakutoma tumishima mujine ma James Mowaji pano byonse ne tebanyu tuvota twibantu bene mutumvine ko rusa sukuru naye ujuguno ukiso jishinda jafu matichers bajina myoto kabana okankara kwenda bana kushanga myoto kakawama paranda paka market kakawama.
Meanwhile, government is this year expected to displace hundreds of traders in Kawama and Solwezi Mini Market to pave the way for construction of double-story modern markets, SOLWEZI Central Area Member of Parliament Stanford Mulusa says government is determined to improve the infrastructure of the market. He has assured of government's commitment to construct a double-story building at Kawama Market and called on marketeers to cooperate. He adds that SOLWEZI main market will also be constructed into a modern market.
To allow development to come. When we do that, Chawama will change. SOLWEZI will change. People will say, what will say? It is the same way. Now, many market, the plan is the same. Many market, we are putting up a bigger market also. But we want to create space. So the structures will be beautiful.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Social scientist Innocent Kolala has observed with concern that the Anti-Corruption Commission, SEC, is burdening itself for opting to be sitting in Constituency Development Fund CDF committees. In August last year, the Commission said it resumed sitting on various committees ranging from procurement, recruitment and monitoring of examinations, among others, in a bid to reduce corruption. Mr. Kolala has doubted the capacity of the Commission to effectively participate in CDF committees. He regrets that the Commission is faced with the problem of limited staffing, thus wondering how they can manage to have a presence in all 150 constituencies. Mr. Kolala notes that the CDF guidelines are cumbersome and have hindered the effective and efficient implementation of the CDF.
Now look at the numbers and look at the cases which have been reported before them. And most of those cases, we haven't heard about them. Some of those cases could have even been reported year back, I think, before we even changed the regime. But those cases, they are still there. Now, how are they going to manage? Now start sitting in the Constituency Development Fund committees, where we have about 156 constituencies. And in these 156 constituencies, they are in about 116 districts. 116 districts, meaning there are certain constituencies, districts which are housing more than one constituency. A practical example of LUSAKA district, it houses about 7 constituencies. And how are they going to be managing with the limited staffing to start now going around in these constituencies, start sitting on the Constituency Development Fund? These are some of the bottlenecks which a lot of Zambians, we have complained about the operation of the Constituency Development Funds. We saw the big guidelines, with the huge guidelines which was released in the 2022 implementation of the Constituency Development Fund by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, which for now, as we are speaking right now, let me, someone come and point at one of the constituency which has utilized the entire 25.7 million Constituency Development Fund which was allocated in 2022. Why hasn't it been utilized in full? It is because of the same bottlenecks, because of the same unacceptable guidelines.
The Leadership Movement Party has insisted that the fight against corruption under the United Party for National Development Administration is a failed project because nothing tangible is being seen. Addressing the media Saturday, Party Deputy Secretary General Chalwe Chandalala accused the ruling party of not being different from the previous administration, the Patriotic Front, as evidenced by some officials being caught in corruption scandals. Meanwhile, the party Secretary General Jairus Ngoma accused the ruling party of looting the country's national resources. And Mr. Ngoma has urged the government to utilize all the junkies that are being arrested by the police into producing local products for the country. More in this report.
The ruling United Party for National Development has continued to be under scrutiny from the opposition political party in the country since the reception of its first day in office after winning the 2021 general elections. Although the UPND administration may claim to have inherited a bad economy from the previous administration, the current economic crisis has seen many opposition political parties, including the PF themselves, accuse the current administration of failing to manage the affairs of the country. The opposition leadership movement party has not for a second spared the ruling party from critiques, as it is of the view that the 1 year plus that the UPND administration has spent in government is evident enough to show that it has totally failed in managing the affairs of the country. In its continuity to provide checks and balance to the current administration, the Leadership Movement Party, through its Secretary General, has accused the ruling party of looting the country's natural resources. The party Secretary General said this during a media press briefing in Lusaka, when he touched on various national matters.
And they are telling you they don't have the money. As a government, you are not. Where is NAPTA belonging? Is NAPTA not part of the government? And they are looting right now. Copper is leaving us. It's going. And you are told, no, we don't have capacity. But to subject your people, our parents fought. You can see that money is revolving in your own country. Right now, there is no even a single coin which is hitting our Bank of Zambia. What comes in petty cash is just money for wage bills, for machinery and salaries. And here you are told, no, according to the inflation, who is going to feed the inflation? We want to be productive. You cannot work on an economy where you want to subject your people. No, there is competency. I know it's there, you can't see it. Even in the Bible.
Meanwhile, the party has insisted that the fight against corruption in the UPND administration is a failed project because nothing tangible is being seen.
The new Dawn government and President Ichilema to come out open and say no, corruption under the UPND government, we don't tolerate it. And we are going to follow the route of the leadership movement where corruption is not bearable and corruption is 37 years imprisonment. This is what we and Dr. Richard Silombe have always been talking about. Just recently, yesterday, we saw Mr. SG, the filing of the arrest of 18 finance officials. It is very embarrassing. The new Dawn government, when they took over office, they were telling us to say, but PFI were corrupt. If we had some government, corruption will be the thing of the past. 18 months in office, how many arrests have we seen in the new Dawn government under their watch? It's not even making sense. We want the new Dawn government to be clean. It's for this reason, as leadership movement, we have no doubt to say PF and UPND are one and the same, and UPND cannot fight corruption.
Just after winning the August 2021 general elections, the ruling party vowed to fight against corruption and not spare anyone found looting public resources, further assuring citizens of its commitment in addressing the debt restructuring.
What is now just awaiting us is to have this debt restructured, then immediately it is the IMF program. When you are talking about inflation, you are not talking about the price of one commodity. Understand that very carefully. You are not talking about the price of one commodity.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're watching Camnet's television main news. We'll take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum Products for that perfect skin.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. President Hakainde Hichilema has established the Presidential Delivery Unit, PDU, to accelerate the implementation of the priority government programs and projects. The President has appointed Ms. Kusobile Stuart Kamwambi to head the PDU and Ms. Chipokota Mwanawasa as the unit's deputy head. Ms. Kamwambi also serves as Permanent Secretary, Management Development Division, Cabinet Office, whilst Ms. Mwanawasa currently serves in the Presidential Advisory Team. President Hichilema has wished them every success as they carry out their duties. Iteji Area Member of Parliament Mutinta Twambo has called on the government to invest more in the management of fisheries in order for it to reap more benefits from the sector. In an interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Twambo said 665 fishermen whose applications were pending to be allowed to get permits and fish in all the protected waters of Kafue National Parks on Lake Iteji have been granted the permit, thereby bringing the total number to 1,665 fishermen. He reiterates that the fisheries sector was one of the most viable employers in the country, hence the need to enhance it through massive investments for it to create more employment for Zambians.
And also considering the fact that most of our community members, they entirely depend on fishing. We have no alternative livelihoods for our people, and the process to bring some of these changes, that some of them will come, we thought they needed to be done in a gradual process so that we start preparing the minds of our people. But more important, we cannot just focus on conserving our natural resources when there are no alternatives. The human mind is difficult. If there are no alternatives, let's find another way of doing it in an illegal way, and that is what we are against. Apart from that, one of the issues that was discussed was the desire that the co-management agreement between African Park and government should be made a bit more public so that people understand the tenets of the agreement, including key stakeholders like the chiefs. And also the people need to understand the positive benefits of this co-management agreement. People need to understand the community beneficiation. People need to understand the benefits that will come from being good stewards of the natural resources. However, we also realize that as part of engaging each other to find an amicable way of conserving the environment and also providing alternative, we realize that government should also invest a bit more and the whole project in aqua agriculture. We need to see a lot of fish farming interventions also being brought on board so that the people do not overcrowd in the lake.
Kabata Constituency Development Fund, CDF Chairperson Chilekwa Munkonge, says repair works of a leaking roof at Libala Market have begun using the 2022 CDF. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Munkonge says working with ward development committees in the constituency, the team is moving around the community to identify problems affecting residents and offering solutions. He notes that boreholes are being sunk in areas of need such as markets. The Kawata CDF chairperson states that the constituency hopes to lead as an example to all other constituencies that have not been aggressive in utilizing the CDF.
We are doing some projects in Kawata constituency, and the Libala Market renovation is one of them. Even during our campaigns, the by-election for the elder member of parliament, when the president passed through, the marketeers were complaining that it was raining, and His Excellency the President, Mr. Hichilema, he promised the people of Libala that as soon as you elect this elder member of parliament, I will ensure that they renovate your market. And today is a very important day that we are fulfilling what the President promised people of Livara. And not only innovating of the market, we are also doing some bores within Livara so that they have enough water in the market and the surrounding area. Not only that, we are also going to do some drainages within the market so that we have a very conducive place to trade from. Kawata constituency there, it's there for you people to Kawata constituency, and you have seen we have done a groundbreaking of Michael Shelter, mother shelter. The day before yesterday we were doing a groundbreaking of abortion block at Chilenge Level 1 clinic. Today we are in Ivalla. So meaning that your money CDF is waiting. Not only that, sooner or later we are moving to Kabwata. We'll be doing some groundbreaking. We are coming up with 1x3 classroom blocks. About 2 schools will benefit. We are also going to move to Kamwala. Same to Kamlanga.
Some marketeers at Chilenge Market in Lusaka have expressed disappointment in the allocation of the Marketeer Booster Loan under the Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission Program, CEEC. The program is targeted at empowering cooperatives operating within designated markets across the country that aim to establish viable bulking and cold chains facilities. Some traders feel most beneficiaries are affiliated with the governing United Party for National Development, UPND. Meanwhile, a trader from the same market who has benefited from the Marketeer Booster Loan has thanked the government for introducing such an empowerment program. You're watching Camnet Television News. We'll take a break. We'll be back with international and sports news after the break.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. And now in international news, Rwandan authorities greeted the arrival on Saturday of British Home Secretary Suella Braverman on a 2-day trip to the country in a bid to accelerate the implementation of a controversial deal to send migrants arriving by boat in the UK to the East African country. The deportation agreement announced last year allows UK authorities to send to Rwanda asylum seekers while their claims are processed. Illegal migrants are yet to be sent to the East African country, though Britain has already paid Rwanda 170 million United States dollars under the deal. Meanwhile, millions of Nigerians are headed back to the polls Saturday as Africa's most populous nation holds gubernatorial elections amid tensions after last month's disputed presidential vote. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Nigerians are heading back to the polls this Saturday to elect governors for 28 of Nigeria's 36 states. The elections take place amid tensions as the opposition continues to reject the victory of President-elect Bola Tinubu from the ruling party. On Friday, armed security forces could be seen patrolling violence hotspots. Although there are a record 87.2 million registered voters in Nigeria, analysts fear a repeat of the low participation in last month's presidential vote, which recorded a 26.7% voter turnout rate, the lowest in Nigeria's history. In the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, traditional yellow taxis, which have been operating since the 1970s, face the increasing threat of modern transport vehicles. Many customers are now booking their taxi rides through apps on their smartphones. Many, however, are determined to fight on. I've been working as a taxi driver for about 46 years, since 1977. Many parties have introduced modern cars to fight us. Taxis are still determined and will remain so. Taxi drivers are known for their honesty. Despite the advanced state of disrepair of many of the traditional vehicles, some locals believe that diesel taxis are important to the everyday life of the Sudanese. This customer says that he's convinced that despite the emergence of modern means of transport, the old taxis continue to play their role and mission. The head of the taxi union called on the state to modernize and refurbish the taxis so that they can keep up with the constant modernization of new models of vehicles. I've been working in the taxi driving profession since 1996. The taxi cannot disappear overnight. It will remain in place until its time comes. But we want modern cars because taxi drivers are also struggling to make ends meet for their children who are studying in primary, secondary and university. Hundreds of dilapidated taxis face the threat of extinction in Khartoum. Rwandan authorities greeted the arrival on Saturday of British Home Secretary Suella Braverman on a two-day trip to the country in a bid to accelerate the implementation of a controversial deal to send migrants arriving by boat in the UK to the East African country. The deportation agreement announced last year allows UK authorities to send to Rwanda asylum claimants while their claims are being processed. Illegal migrants are yet to be sent to the East African country, though Britain has already paid Rwanda $170 million under the deal. Every year, thousands of migrants travel to northern France in a bid to reach the UK.
It's now time for sports news. Now, sports news tonight. Liverpool's Darwin Núñez has pulled out of the Uruguay squad for their upcoming friendlies because of injury. The 23-year-old forward was named in the squad for Uruguay's matches against Japan and South Korea on 24 and 28 March, respectively. Núñez will instead receive treatment at the Premier League's Club Training Centre. Liverpool did not specify what the injury was in their statement, but reports suggest it is an ankle issue. It is thought he sustained the injury against Real Madrid in the Champions League on Wednesday, when Liverpool lost 6-2 on aggregate in the last 16. Club America forward Jonathan Rodriguez, 29, has been named as a replacement in the Uruguay squad. That story brings us to the end of our news. Before we go, the headlines once again. The Anti-Corruption Commission, SEC, urged to stop negotiating with public funds looters. Some LUSAKA traders claim the marketeer booster loans are targeted at UPND CADRES. SOLWEZI residents ask government to enhance access to health services. In international news, Nigeria electing governors after disputed presidential poll. And in sports news, Liverpool forward pulls out of Uruguay squad with injury. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from Proverbs 21, verse 21. Whoever pursues righteousness and love finds life, prosperity, and honor. Thank you so much for watching Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.